Today, we're talking about youth sports and discipling parents on how to manage the demands that they put on the family.
Welcome to the To Be the Church podcast, where we explore what it looks like to truly be the church in today's culture. I'm Tyler, and I'm here with Trevor.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Good. So, all right, you're at Battleground. How long have you been here now? 6 months?
8
months? All right. How has the transition been from life down south to up here?
Yeah, way down south in Portland. No, man, it's been good. Our family's integrating well. Both the boys are in school now. They're loving it. My wife's getting more engaged and involved in our community. But yeah, man, at Battleground, the last 4 weeks has been crazy. Not just high attendance, but attendance we never thought that we'd be hitting, at least right now. And so, yeah, I think we're having to just have some conversations. How do we shepherd this moment well? How do we, steward the souls that are walking in? So yeah, things are going good.
That's awesome. I got to give you props because I was there on Sunday at Battleground, and I was really impressed by the clarity with which you guys are communicating in a variety of ways, not just the preaching or just the announcements, but things there are certain things where it was this moment would happen and then something will pop up on the screen, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's cool. There's some really cool things.
That's cool.
And so
Appreciate it.
Way to go.
Thanks.
I know that comms world's your background. But yeah, all right, let's jump in. We actually, just for full transparency, we recorded
tell
it. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
We recorded an episode last week on this, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, we can do better. And so we can come in more prepared. So here we are, round 2. And at the end of this, if you're really, that was your second try, then here we are.
That's good.
But yeah, you came with a question recently. And so, let's go for it.
Okay, so my question was, and I think it's something that would hit a lot of people, especially today. I know you and I have background in this, both as parents and as people who played sports. But I was thinking through this because we have people at our church too who struggle with this. I know me and my wife are experiencing it, but how do you disciple somebody who is in between that struggle, kind of in between going to church and being involved in youth sports? Because youth sports, I don't know. I mean, when I was playing, it was just this is just what we do. But now that I'm a parent, I'm like, oh my gosh, there is so much that you have to commit to. And I think a lot of people are dealing with that. They want their kids to be in sports. They want to be involved. They want to rub shoulders with people who aren't Christians. They want to do all of that. But sometimes that comes at the cost of being involved in the life of a church. And so my question is that I wanted us to kind of explore is, how do we shepherd people through that? How do we do that as, husbands, as families and parents?
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts. So, I think let's start so you were a college athlete. Give us your background and what you did growing up.
Yeah. I mean, I played 3 sports growing up, and then in high school played basketball, baseball, and then played baseball through college, George Fox and Corbin. Even
though you're wearing a Portland Pilots baseball shirt right now.
Yeah, man. It's all right.
Yeah.
You go to camps, you get shirts, things happen. But this is a shirt that I get the most questions about. Oh, did you play at UP? I'm like, no, I wasn't that good. But I will say my last game officially as a baseball player was at UP.
Okay. So
lined out to center. I cried like a baby after.
One of the coolest sports moments I've had was at UP.
Okay.
So my daughter had a basketball tournament, which we'll get into in a minute.
Yeah.
And she left her phone in the Child Center, their big arena. So on the Monday, I went to get it, and as I'm driving up, I see all these people wearing Royals hats, Kansas City Royals hats. Yeah. I'm like, that's weird. And so I get out of my car and I'm walking by the baseball stadium over to the basketball arena, and I look onto the field and everybody's wearing a Royals hat, and I'm like, that's weird. So I go in, I find her phone, and then I come back out, and I go up to the gate, and I just ask what's going on. And the Kansas City Royals are hosting the top 50 high school and JUCO players.
Nice.
In a kind of a combine type day or whatever.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, it's free if you want to go in and watch. And so there wasn't a game.
I thought she was going to say it's free. You should go try out.
No. But I was wearing a Royals hat too, because I just naturally.
I don't know if people know on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm a Royals fan.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I go in and I sit down for half an hour probably, and I'm the type of baseball fan where I know a lot of the minor league coaches. A lot of them are previous players.
You're that guy.
And so yeah, there was a few guys there that I was like pumped to see. And I was like sitting in the third row. And of course, yeah, I mean, all these high school and college players, like they're just pre-draft, like, you know, working out for different teams and stuff like that. But that was really fun. So
Did
anyway.
you get your hat signed by any of them?
No, I didn't talk to anybody.
Right. I just want to know what kind of level you're playing at these days.
Well, yeah. So, like I didn't speak to anybody, but like Mike Sweeney was there, who was a Royals catcher. Yeah, like back in the day, and he's like player development or something like that.
Yeah.
Works for the team.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a couple years ago, but that was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the basketball stuff. What about as a parent? Like what does that look like?
So our 5-year-old doesn't have hand-eye coordination. So, but our 8-year-old was hitting like live pitching at 1.5, and so he's been in sports a large portion of his life. But he right now, like he's in CCYF football. He's in the same league that Ben Potloff. Many people who listen to this know Ben. He coaches in, but and then he also plays baseball or basketball. Excuse me. He wants to play baseball, but like. Actually, as a connection to this conversation, my wife and I are like, do we really want to do 3 sports? Is this really what we want, our life to be dominated by? So yeah, he does the 2 sports.
Nice. So for me, I played sports all growing up, not even close to a collegiate level. But and we'll talk about this in a minute, but like a lot of my best memories with my parents are around youth sports, right?
Yep.
Like time in the car on the way to games or tournaments and, at practices and getting gear and all, like just a lot of my like best moments of connection with my parents, like surround sports. And my brother as well. My brother played like soccer through high school and then played in South America post high school.
Wow.
And so like, there's just a lot of that. And then as a parent, at the beginning we were just kind of like, let's just let our kids try whatever and see what happens.
Yeah.
Our oldest is 15. When she was like 4, she played soccer. She hated it. And she played basketball and like, this is in first grade, played basketball and did not score a basket the entire season. Okay. They gave out awards at the end of the season and Molly's award was best eyes, not because of like her vision on the court, but because when the coach would look at her, and this is for the video crowd, that she'd be like open her eyes real wide at him. And like,
that's the word you want to win for
and
basketball.
So,
best expression.
Yeah. So she won best eyes, for the team. And so like,
funny.
The next year rolls around and we're like thinking, all right, like Molly, what do you want to try something else? And she's like, no, I want to play basketball again. And honestly, my wife and I were like, you sure? Like, remember, like she liked it, but she just wasn't good at it. And she's like, no, I loved it. I want to do it again. And so, signed her up and like that has like developed over, she's now a freshman in high school. And so, since she played basketball 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, joined like a club team, a year-round team in 6th grade, and has been doing that for the last 3 years, starts high school basketball here in a month. So very involved in that.
Yep.
And then I have a 6th grade daughter who has played soccer and thrived there, just joined a club team there.
Nice.
And then my boys who are 3rd grade and 1st grade both play like whatever rec sport is in season and they love it.
That's awesome.
So football, basketball, baseball, soccer. So, we are a sports family. Right. And so, now does that take a ton of time? 100%.
Yeah, no question.
Is there a lot of commitment, but then also like, and as I'm even thinking about this conversation, it's like, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Like these are things we struggle through. And like, as a couple, my wife and I like we're regularly in seasons, like our seasons. And that's really important to remember because it's like, okay, like here's what our life looks like for these 12 weeks. Like, how do we adjust and change in this next season or whatever? So, anyway, that's where we're at as a family. And so, I figured it would be good to kind of start with like a history of youth sports, because we talk about this on this podcast a lot. A lot of life is pendulum swinging, and we have options as how to respond to this moment. And so, there's a great book on this been reading called The Away Game, and it's essentially like how to disciple your kids in a world that is not made for discipleship. And so, just Googling this morning, $40 billion a year spent on youth sports. The book would call it the youth sports industrial complex because it's like,
I like that.
They're $40 billion a year. And it makes sense. Like there is like no end to the amount of money that you can spend on youth sports, whether it be 3rd grade football cleats or travel tournaments in high school.
Well, or coaching or lessons or
Right. And so, and so why are people willing to spend this amount of money? Right. And there's a ton of reasons.
Good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah. There is there's this idea, that like these sports are teaching you character. And I think there's truth to that. I also think that they're deforming you in a way if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And so that's, a big thing. There is just a legit reality of like parents living vicariously through their kids. I didn't take advantage of the opportunity that I had, or maybe I wasn't good enough or whatever. So I'm going to like live through you. And then, there's also like the very, very low percentage, but people put a lot of stock into it. This idea that if I do this, like it will turn into a scholarship for my kid, and their college will be paid for.
I'll financially benefit from it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a lot of the reasons of why people would do this. Also, there's just like an idolization of our children in our culture, where it's like my kid is the most important thing in the world to me.
Yep.
I would say if you say that, that's an idol, and so, all right, let's talk about the background of esports a little bit. In the late 1800s, this is when like the YMCA started, the Youngmen's Christian, Athletic Association, or whatever. The YMCA started. There's this idea though of muscular Christianity, and this was a pendulum moment where the Christian like worldview of the time was like the physical world and the spiritual world are separate. The physical world is going to pass away. The spiritual world is all that matters. Does not matter if you're a glutton. Does not matter if you're like 500 pounds. Physical world does not matter. And so this like the pendulum swung to this idea of muscular Christianity, and that actually led to a lot of civic engagement in sports, that was like Christian run originally, think things like YMCA, YWCA, things like that, that funded this like idea of like getting kids active, right? And getting kids like to play, and there's tons of benefits that we don't have to go into for kids of just like having active lives, obviously physically, but then also mentally and emotionally. And so that happened. The Great Depression hits, all the funding for that goes away. And it was in the midst of that like a lot of these like private leagues were born, like Pop Warner football, American Legion baseball, Little League baseball, things like that. So these were all, Little League started right before the Great Depression, but I read that they had like 10,000 people pre-depression, over 1 million by 1960, kids in Little League baseball. So there's all this, and so and again, like at that time, like the whole goal is just play. It is just being active, stuff like that. And there was a shift in the 1970s. There's a lot behind it, but the original thought was like activities can pad college resumes, right? Not like I'm going to get a basketball scholarship, but as the thinking about like our parents' generation and like the every kid needs to go to college. College is the only way forward. You're going to be screwed if you don't go to college. Like that mindset. There's this idea of padding the college resume. And so like a lot of kids were like in activities and sports and stuff like that for that reason. Eventually the carrot of the scholarship kind of popped up. And then like late 1990s, like kind of the club sports world started to develop. And actually, like I didn't know this until researching it, but Disney is like obviously they own ESPN, but there is they were realizing that we're losing families when the kids outgrow Disney World. And they built the ESPN World of Sports down by Disney World. And then the travel sports world kind of like took off. And so, now this 100%, especially when you get to like the club level or whatever, has the ability to take over your life, right?
No question.
I know a lot of folks, Christian and non-Christian both, who have 3 or 4 kids, all in travel sports, and they are never home on a weekend. They are, flying to Vegas for this weekend, and then they're driving to Bend for next weekend, and there's all sorts of stuff like that, and like that is not healthy. Just straight up.
But it is important to say, like, it is fun. There is an element of it that it's like my kid is playing at a high level and they're playing these games and they could get recognized, they could get seen. It's fun to go. Like,
it's a blast,
dude. As an athlete too, as a kid, bro, traveling and playing. Like, I played at the I think it's the Bend Elks now. It used to be the Bend Bandits. Like, going over there and playing at that field, it was like historic. You felt like, oh, I'm in this cool space, and so there's a lot of fun to be had, and so. Like, just to be clear, the motivation is like, it typically starts as pure. It's not like this, we want to be too busy or whatever. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it is a blast. And I think too, so like we could talk through options, like what options families have.
Yep.
And like one option would be, because it's a blast, because like it's just like there are benefits and positive things about it. One option is just to like unintentionally become a slave to it.
Yep.
Right. And like let it rule your life.
Yep.
Now you could be listening to this conversation and say like, why would I ever do that? I'm going to completely disconnect from it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's families who've made that call and like, I respect that. That's fine. But it's also like, for this conversation, it's like, how can we as Christians like live faithful lives, like without doing either of those two things. Right. And so now I will say this, there are a few organizations that are really helpful in this. Organizations like Athletes in Action, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Like when I was a kid, I didn't really see the point of those. I was like, Christian and athlete, cool, whatever, combine them if you want. Kind of a lame group to go to on Thursday morning at school, like, you know, whatever.
Super lame.
Yeah. But like, but as a parent, as I've like watched this world develop, it is like, there are groups like FCA and Athletes in Action, things like that. There's another one called Sports Outreach Northwest here in our area that's doing a good job of this, where it's like, they are trying to like live faithfully and disciple students in the midst of this world. And so, yeah, I think there are benefits, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And so, we can talk about how to do that, and then talk about like how, like practically maybe as families, like how can we, and then how can we talk to the families that are doing it.
For sure. So I think to start, like the people who I don't think like it's kind of fits in with like Christian cancel culture and that like perspective, but it's like just throwing the baby out with the bathwater with everything. I don't think typically is the right approach for anything. I think it does need to be a balanced thing. But like, look, if your kids aren't athletes, like cool. Like, you know, you're not going to have like that issue, but like maybe they get into martial arts or maybe they get into drama or something.
You say
like
martial
that.
arts is
like,
not
You're
athletic.
right. You're right. Shots fired. My bad. No, I don't.
I agree with you.
That's cool. If you have any comments, keep them to yourself. Don't comment on YouTube. But no, I think like there are other things that could absolutely take the place of sports and dominate that. But yeah, I think that the other side of just kind of running with, but, you know, I'm just thinking about like, well, I'm just a slave to my kid's youth sports schedule. And I don't think that that's good. You know, I think we're identifying that. It's not a good thing either. But that middle ground, I think, and maybe I'm getting too ahead of the game, but just practically, one of the questions I would ask, or one of the things I would suggest doing is if you're feeling the weight of like, I don't know how to do this well, like take a 30,000 foot view of your schedule and just do an audit, like based on what we have on our schedule and what we're committed to, what does this say is important to me and my family? And what I like about that is that's going to help you evaluate how you're spending your time. Like, man, I'm not in a discipleship community. I'm not in a community group. I'm not meeting with other men or women. I'm not, you know, really pressing into my relationship with the Lord. Maybe that's something that comes from it. But also that what you see from your schedule is also teaching your kids what to value or what not to value. And so if on Sundays it's like, well, we're doing travel baseball or we've got football or soccer or whatever, and we're never going to church, one of the things we don't think about is that is teaching our kids. That's forming our kids to say church isn't actually as important as maybe we say it is, but we don't act like it. And so I think that that's just a practical question to maybe help you evaluate from the top down.
Yeah, and I think as you're taking that 30,000 foot approach too, is that one thing that's important to remember is that oftentimes, in most cases, that these sports commitments are seasonal.
Yeah,
where it's like you're in the midst of it for 12 weeks. 16 weeks maybe, you know? And so like there are off ramps. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be nuclear.
Yeah.
So like we'll hit a point in like in some seasons where we'll feel that. And my wife specifically will be like, I am ready for this to be over. And we'll look down and be like, all right, 3 weeks. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, there's that reality. And then I think too, just on a practical level I can't think of a scenario where this isn't the case. It's like you are paying, whether it be like $99 for a rec team or thousands of dollars for a club team, you are paying for a service. Mm-hmm. You are paying like for your kid to be developed or trained or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
And like you call the shots, right? Now we've been in scenarios, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, like where leadership or coaches have been like, this is the gold standard. This is what you're going to do. And my response to that has always been like, well, are you paying me?
Yeah.
Or am I paying you?
Right. Whose kid is coming to your practice?
Right.
It's mine.
Yeah. And like whose wallet is paying for it. And so it's like, you know, like, and so there's this idea that like, well, they're just on the baseball team, so they have to play a game if the game is Sunday at 10:30 a.m.
Yeah. Which, let me touch on that. I'm going to double click on that. I think that there's an aspect of, and I've even said this to my 8-year-old who like didn't want to go to a practice or something. And I said to him, no, dude, you committed to this. Mm-hmm. You are going to go. So there is like a good foundation underneath that. Like you want follow through, you want discipline, you want commitment from your kid, but inadvertently that ends up shackling us, I think, to your point.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think like, yeah, I mean, we could get into it if we want, like I have a framework for what takes priority at what points. Yeah. And so, but like, I think, actually let's just jump there now. As far as like a few, like one of the things that's really important as you're trying to navigate this, is like the expectation on the front end. And so like a few things really matter. Like the program that you're joining matters. What are the expectations of said program? The coach really matters. Like who are they? Did they have even a framework for understanding your value system? Mm-hmm. Now we've experienced every part of this. And again, everything ends up being seasonal. So it's like, okay, we have a coach like that. We didn't realize this was the case for 12 weeks or whatever. But I will say this, when you have a coach who cares about your kid's discipleship, which my daughter is like super blessed to have a club basketball coach. He's a tender here at Eastside.
That's a gift.
And like it is a gift because like he cares more about Molly's discipleship than her jump shot. Yeah. And that has not always been the case with every coach we've ever had. Mm-hmm. And we've had seasons, like especially when she was like 6th, 7th grade, where it was like, man, this coach like is phenomenal. Like he coached college basketball. I do not want my daughter like looking at him and thinking that he is like a good moral
he sets
example, right? You know, and so like on the front end, and now if you're signing up for CCYF, Clark County Youth Football or whatever, is like you don't really get much of a say in who the coach is, but like the expectations, the program, the coach, and then also the there's another one I put. Oh, the commitment, right? And so like you don't, I would tell the family, you don't have to be a slave to this. Like you can be involved, and like be the leader of your family and like make the call of whatever you decide to do. Yep. And so like, I think that's really important. And so just, I'll stay practical, then we can jump around a little bit.
Sure.
But I think like, so I'll talk about my daughter's soccer team right now. She's on a club soccer team. It's a big club. There are 6 teams for her age group on her club. Yeah. Like there's a lot of teams. Yeah. And a lot of clubs are like this, where they're like, all right, here is an option for you where you're essentially saying football is life. Ted Lasso. Soccer is life, you know? And like you pay like soccer is life, then you're expected to do this. There's also a layer where
football is death.
No.
Okay. It's also Ted Lasso.
Okay. There's also like a layer where it is like multi-sport athletes are encouraged. Yeah. I always look for that when I'm looking at a program. I always look for somebody that says multi-sport athletes are encouraged, because they don't expect your entire life. Yeah. And so it's like,
that's good.
Now they may think like soccer versus volleyball. Yeah. But like they're not expecting you to be at everything all the time, because they were saying multi-sport athletes are encouraged. And so for Lennon, our younger daughter, it's like there's this option that's like football's life. There's this other option that is like multi-sport athletes are encouraged, like make what you can, do that. It's like when there's options like that, like take the option that's not going to overtake your life.
Yeah.
But even if you are on like a, very high commitment thing, like you're still the parent, you're still paying for it. You can say no.
Yeah.
And like I don't think your kid's gonna get kicked off the team. My kid hasn't,
Again, you're
like
paying for it.
I know,
likely
right?
not going to kick you off the team.
Yeah. And so, and that is such an important thing to remember about the paying for it. It is like, because a lot of even the way this gets framed in our world is like, they're the expert who's going to get your kid the development, the scholarship, all that. Like, therefore you need to work around like their life.
Yeah.
And again, I'm so blessed that like we've been able to find programs that just don't function that way. And it's really, really been beautiful. And so, I would say like, all right, like things to look into are, the program. What are the values of the program? Like what are they really looking to teach? Yeah. And then also what development is actually happening? Like not just the jump shot, but like, I'm always looking at the older kids on a program as well. What do their lives look like?
Yeah.
Like, are they great players, but jerks? Are they investing in the younger players on the team? Like, cause again, like our kids are being formed here. And so the program, the coach matters. I don't know, we've all felt this. We've all like done a kids season with a coach who doesn't know what they're doing, like either on the field or like interpersonally.
Yeah.
And it's tough, but when you find a coach who cares, a coach who like, is there to invest in your kid, especially like in a Christian environment or like just a Christian coach, like, dude, like your kid can be discipled in this, in this world. Yeah. That's great. And then, the commitment, like what does that look like? Yeah. And so,
I had a question because I was thinking like we're getting a little bit more practical for the parent who's maybe evaluating, kid sports and how to be involved. But like, I think you and I have both seen this in the church and maybe even experienced it personally where there's a season where sports tends to take over and then your involvement, you're like really just your spiritual life in general starts to die. And so I know we have people who are pastors or leaders in the church, or in Christian ministries who experience this. And it was one of the questions actually in the first time we recorded this, but just like how you encourage a parent who maybe you're seeing someone who's like has a lack of engagement in church and they're pulling away and it's because of youth sports. Like, how do you engage that conversation? And I know when we had this conversation before, you'd mentioned like, it depends on the relationship, but let's say you're a pastor, you're a Christian leader, that you do have an existing relationship with this individual. How do you pastor them? How do you shepherd them through, like, you just come up and be like, hey bro, you're not coming to church and it's bad and sports is dominating you? Or how would it differ? How would that conversation go?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of layers. Like on the Sunday morning conversation, that's probably the conversation. Yeah, I'd go back to like, remember, like you call the shots, not the random coach of the AAU team. Yeah. Like remember for your family, you call the shots. And so like, and it's interesting. I was having this conversation with another parent who's also a pastor and also has like 6 kids. Shout out Tyler Grove if you're watching. And we were talking about
Tyler Grove.
Yeah, nice. We were talking just like the dynamic of like, like is it 100% or 0%? It doesn't, and like, just talking through like the dynamic of like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like that does not have to be the way that it's approached. But like, I would say that like for the Sunday morning thing, just like, like there might be like, it's like, dude, like it's just like too much. You need to like, this is not going down a road you want it to go down. And then I'd say like, just in general, maybe even outside of Sunday, like I would encourage them and just like call them, like you have to be more intentional with your time. Mm-hmm. Now, like I've thought of an example like of this right now. My wife and another woman from the church who has a son on our like our sons play football together. Like they take one of the hours of practice every week and like walk around the field and like talk, and they're doing a Bible reading plan together and they pray together. So
the husband and wife are?
No, like my wife and another wife,
cool.
another
so
mom.
Fellowship.
Yeah, another mom from the team. Cool. And so it's like there are opportunities even like within the constraints,
like redeeming the time.
Yeah. And so like that is, is that community group? No. Is it like spiritually
but
beneficial?
It's on that spectrum.
Right. Yeah. It's Christian community. And so I say you have to be more intentional with your time, like both within it and then also like, like one of the things we're trying to get better as a family is because we're in practices multiple nights a week, as you can imagine. It's like, okay, how do we prioritize like eating a meal together where we reflect on the goodness of God, and like how do we make that work every week?
Yeah.
And there are weeks where that's really tough. We just have to be more intentional about it, and we have to like actually schedule it, you know. And there's things like that. And so I would say to that person, you know, it might be a conversation of like, dude, this is taking over your life, and it doesn't have to be this way. Also, the conversation could be like, how are you being intentional? Because I mean, just if you're in neutral, you work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You go home, you pick up the kids from practice or for practice, take them to practice, go home, eat dinner, get them to bed, chill out and watch Netflix. And it's like, that's a lack of intentionality with your time. And there are all sorts of ways. And you know, it's funny. Like I will tell people I have 80 minutes, at the corner of 192nd and 18th if you want to hang out, like on Thursday night, you know, like because there's a 90-minute practice that I have to drop a kid off for or whatever. So I think like there's things like that as well that are really, really just helpful.
I think too, one of the practical things I've learned, and this actually came from my time, I worked at Pure Desire for a number of years. And one of the things when dealing with like recovery and trying to find time in your day to put things in that you know are valuable or you need to do is trying to take advantage of the times or the pockets that it's already there. And so I love what your wife is doing with that. I think that's awesome. You talked about, I've heard you talk about this, that it's the conversations in the car on the way to practice or after practice that you can leverage that time to have meaningful, deep conversations, really discipleship with your kid.
So because somebody could hear this conversation and be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm just not going to do it. And again, I respect that. But I think that sports do something interesting, and they give you a front row seat to who your kid really is, and what's really going on in their life. You know, like, I don't know if your kids are the same way, but like, some of my kids, it's like, how's your day? Good.
Yeah.
What was your favorite class? I don't know. Like they just like they don't want to, they don't open up in that way. Yeah. You watch them on a field or on a court or whatever, and you see what's there. You see the good, the bad, the ugly. Yeah. You see the joy of like playing with friends, and you see the pride, maybe you see the anger, you see the frustration, you see the anxiety, like all the things. And so like the car rides to and from are like such a great, a great, and those are the memories I have, right, of my parents. And I assume they were being intentional, you know, as well. Like, you know, how did it feel when you struck out that third time, you know, or whatever?
Poor Tyler.
But
heavy lift for your parents.
Yeah. So, but with that, like framing the conversations and like, okay, I'm competitive. You're probably competitive. Like, it can be easy to be the parent who is like, get open, pass the ball. Yeah. What are you thinking, ref? All sorts of stuff like that. Yeah. But the one thing that came from this book, The Away Game, that's helped me so much. Yeah.
Do we have show notes, by the way?
Yeah.
Can we just put the link in there,
we
please?
should put the link to this book in there. Yeah. But one of the things is like, this book outlines the 3 purposes of sports for a kid. And they're progressive. The first one is play, like just the ability to play. Yep. And the book would say that like when you're in elementary school, like for an elementary school kid, that is the purpose. Like you don't need more than that. Yeah. For a 4th grade basketball player, right? My wife and I not knowing about this.
Some parent needs to hear that, by the way, right now.
We didn't we didn't know about this book when we made the rule early on. It was more of a financial rule where it's like, we're not going to do club sports until middle school. And the thought was like, I'm not going to pay a lot of money for my 3rd grader to play a sport that he's not going to work hard at, you know, or whatever, or she's not going to work hard at. And so like, that was more like our thought behind it. But like in elementary school, sports are for play. When you get to middle school, like sports can add in principles, like teamwork, like selflessness. There's all sorts of lessons that can be learned. And like honestly, like those 2 areas, like play and then principles, have helped me frame the conversations in the car. Like I don't have to say to my 3rd grade son, like, hey, the 9 route you ran like was a little flat, or you know, like, or whatever. Like, and now that sounds ridiculous, but like listen to parents at a 3rd grade soccer game, like get open, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, like there's all sorts of things going on there. And so like play and then the principles. And like I said, I have a 6th grade daughter. She has all sorts of personalities on her soccer team. And yeah, like the conversations, it's so interesting. Like she had an experience this past weekend where my 9th grade daughter, if she would have had the same experience, would have responded 100% different. And so like we get in the car and we're actually walking to the car and I'm like, hey, how'd you feel about that? Like expecting to need to like calm her down and parent her through it. And she was like, that was great. I'm like,
Okay.
yeah. Any problems? She's like, no, that was fun. And I was like,
Okay.
that helped me, like,
Yeah,
as a
totally.
parent,
Yeah,
like know
yeah.
like where she's at and like what she values and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so again, play, principles, and then the book would say once they get to high school, and I'm just starting this phase, is perspective. Like how do those principles play out in life? And like how do you take the principles and apply them to life in your worldview? And so, yeah, I mean that like, you know, like, yeah, that's really interesting.
It totally is. I think it's an excellent framework. I think it's super clear. You should buy this book if you're listening to this. It's such a great book. And I've started reading it too. I think that I will say personally, I have experienced principles already, even though I have a 3rd grader playing football. And so it's going to be probably dependent on your kid, their personality and where they're at, you know, kind of in their development. But I know my wife told me last night, actually, when I came back home, we had a member night. So I was over here hanging out with you guys. And then I went home and she's like, by the way, just heads up, Brady got like kind of yelled at tonight for the first time by the coach. She's like, I got into the car expecting him to just kind of just break down and he didn't. He was okay. But she's like, just a heads up. So it's something we'll be paying attention to. But I mean, I remember how I felt when coaches yelled at me, like it's, you know, but each kid is going to be different. But those are those. And I would just say this as a parent, taking advantage of those opportunities when those happen, those are teaching moments where you can absolutely and should 100% disciple your kid. You were talking about neutral earlier. I just want to say like neutral is the easiest way to deform yourself. Like you think neutral is not going anywhere. You're wrong. The world and the culture is going to move you. Sports culture even is going to move you away from the Lord, away from what you know to be right and true. And so don't, even first gear is moving, like, you know, for those of the, you know, I don't know if people still drive stick shifts, but first gear is good. But I would just say like those are opportunities where, and I have plans to ask Brady, my 8-year-old, like, hey dude, I heard about what happened at practice. Like, how do you feel? Like what? And I'm looking for his perspective, but I'm also looking for opportunities to like say, I want to remind you, like there are going to be people in your life like this coach that call you out when you do something you shouldn't be doing. And it's for your benefit. You know, there are ways to like grow and move forward. And that's one of the greatest gifts I think sports can give a parent specifically is it creates so many teaching moments with your kids.
Dude, yeah, it's fertile ground for that, like for connecting, teaching, growing. Now you have to take advantage of it, right? Because as you said,
and you're not going to get everyone. Like keep that in mind too. You are going to miss some of these.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, James K. Smith has a book, You Are What You Love, and it talks about how like the world in general is forming you. And he starts it with, I think it's the right book. It's a James K. Smith book for sure. But he starts it with like this, like essentially this like liturgical, like you go into this place of worship, you do this, and he talks for like 6 pages about what it is. And then at the end, he's like, by the way, what I was just talking about was a shopping mall, not a church. And it was just this, like the world is shaping you.
Yes.
And like, and kind of even the premise of the away game is like, if you're not intentional, the youth sports industrial complex is going to form your kids into something that does not look like Jesus. Yeah. It's going to make them self-centered, arrogant, filled with anxiety. And I think maybe the biggest help for the book in this book for me is that it has reframed a lot of the things like that, the things that I'm saying pre, post, and during games, like to my kid, or like in the presence of them, really focusing like those 3 areas: play, principles, and perspective. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the youth sports world from like Christian organizations and Christian coaches. And, like I said, like we've been super blessed. Like you mentioned, Ben, who's on this podcast half the time, is like a youth sports coach. And so like, I wouldn't want people to hear this and say like, man, I got to swing the pendulum one way or the other. But like just encouraging you. Yeah.
But just like my encouragement is just like be intentional, pay attention to how you're spending your time and what value cast it's giving to you and your family, your kids. And then like just take advantage. If you are in sports, like you and I both played sports, we both have kids in sports, like we clearly are advocates for like youth sports in general. But man, it creates I love what you said, fertile soil. It creates so much opportunity. And so if you are doing it, find ways to take advantage of it. And again, if you're not shaping your kids, something else is.
Yeah. So you asked earlier, like, what would I tell people who are like in the midst of this? Now I'm going to tell them to go listen to this podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have questions, hit us up, podcast@tobethechurch.com. You can do it in the YouTube comments or on social media @tobethechurch. Have a great week.